Hello everybody, it's Dr. Matthew Johnson. It is Thursday, April 18th, 2024 at 9:26 a.m. in the morning. And I just saw Grady compete yesterday in his track meet, and he's setting all kinds of PRs and winning, and he makes Papa proud. But that's not why I'm shooting this video. Have you ever heard of the Mandela effect, where some people clearly remember him dying in prison and others remember him living a lot longer than that after he got out of prison, and he even became the president of the country? You remember the people like, oh, that's not the way I remember it. So anyway, that's called the Mandela effect. Well, if you go online and you look up the Mandela effect, there's lots of really cool examples of the differences of what people remember, from products for sale to lines in movies like, "Luke, I am your father." And some people say, no, that's not what the movie says at all. It's like, that's the way I remember that movie, "Luke, I am your father." That's what I've always said throughout my lifetime. Anyway, recently, I've been having some things occur, like in the last 2 weeks, that have been all Mandela effect. It's like, what the heck is going on? Because it's like there's been a timeline shift. It's like I've moved to an adjacent reality, and it's a little bizarre. Okay, a couple of things with clients and sessions that I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to violate confidentiality, but that was a eyebrow raiser. And then communicating with a buddy of mine who I've known since the 7th grade, so almost 50 years, actually 49. And I remember him in high school clearly saying that he was going to go to Oregon State, and he was trying to get me to play basketball for Oregon State. But at that point in time, before I entered my back, I was being recruited by UCLA, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, etc. Why would I want to play ball for Oregon State? So I remember him going to Oregon State. And then I checked out his Facebook profile, and it says he went to the University of Oregon. No, he didn't. Not in my timeline. So then, I have driven this highway to Grants Pass through the Siskiyous for 24 years. 24 years. Driving north, driving south, driving north, driving south, 24 years. And so on my way, and I drove it 2 weeks ago. I drove it 2 weeks ago to come watch Grady compete. And when I did 2 weeks ago, because like I said, all this has kicked in the last 2 weeks since I made that trip down and back. When I drove this last time, which was yesterday, to come south, and now I'm driving north, I'm going to show you something that just blew my mind. So, I was driving here, and we're coming around the corner, and you see that strip of grass to the left between the two highways? You see that big strip of grass? It used to have trees in it all the way. Nothing but trees, as tall as the trees on the right. But they were in the middle. Do you see any tree stumps? Do you see any sign of heavy equipment work? No, you don't. And look at the light posts that weren't there. And look at the drive-through. This is where the trees started. Right there. There were no light posts. There were nothing but trees as tall as you see on the right side of the highway and the left side of the highway. Nothing but trees. But now there's no trees. And those trees were there 2 weeks ago, but now they're not there. There's no stumps. There's nothing. The trees are gone. They were there 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Now they're not there. And they kept going and going. As far as you can see, the trees kept going and going. It was crazy to drive here and not see the trees. And I was kind of hoping when I was shooting this video, I'd have to shut it off and say, oops, my bad, there's trees there. But the trees are still not there. They're even, where's the tree stumps? Where's the sign of heavy equipment work? Where's all the dirt and the mud? There's no trees. So anyway, last 2 weeks, seems like I've been shifted to an alternative timeline, an alternate timeline. Kind of like shifted over from one to another. And I've told you in the past that John New can look down multiple timelines and figure out, you know, with a high degree of certainty how things are going to turn out. So first things first, after my mind was blown, I called up Cynthia and I explained what just happened. And I said, you're still my wife, right? You're still my wife. And she said, yep, ring's still on my finger. I'm still your wife. And I'm like, that's good. And I began to worry if Grady was going to be Grady when I got there, if Grady was going to be somebody else. But you know, Grady was still Grady. Oh, and that's another thing. So I'm talking with Grady and I'm explaining this Mandela effect, and we're talking about the fact that he needs a math tutor, and I told him about online stuff that I sent him. Oh, by the way, still no trees in the middle. Still no trees. Anyway, I was talking with Grady about online tutoring, and he said, Dad, we already tried that. That didn't work. And I mean, what do you mean we already tried that? He said, we sat down, went over the computer, went online, we signed up for it, got emails for it, and then something said it didn't work. Grady, that never happened. Never happened. Yes, it did, Dad. It happened. No, Grady, that never happened. So, this Mandela effect stuff keeps popping up just in the last 2 weeks. So, I asked Zorth, I said, what's going on? And he said, there's been a time shift. And I said, okay. And he said, this is a better timeline for you, Cynthia and Grady. And I'm going, okay. So, anyway, the Mandela effect is a real thing. And I just showed you proof. That strip of grass had nothing but trees as tall as the trees were on the right and the left 2 weeks ago when I drove down. 2 weeks ago. And everything, all these weird things have been happening in the last 2 weeks. And this time, no trees, no evidence of trees, no stumps, no evidence of heavy equipment work, nothing. You would expect if they managed to take down all those trees in just 2 weeks' time and put up lampposts in 2 weeks' time, that you'd see a whole lot of evidence of that kind of work in just 2 weeks' time. And you wouldn't see fresh grass there that wouldn't grow that quick in 2 weeks' time after cleaning up. And so, bizarre. But, hi, here I am in your timeline now. I guess now my timeline too. And, I can't wait to see why Zorth thinks this is a better timeline for Cynthia, myself, and Grady. Hopefully it's a better timeline for all of us. Looking forward to the rest of my drive home. Hopefully no other weird stuff will happen. Weird. So what you've been listening to sounds pretty crazy, right? Well, let's dive into the Mandela effect just a little bit more because I think you'll find this fascinating. Apparently, misremembering events and facts isn't just exclusive to Broom. Other people related to her in remembering things not exactly in the way that they have happened, from spellings of your favorite snack brands all the way to important events that happened the year they were born. Needless to say, no one is exempt from being stumped by the strange occurrences, and some even go as far as believe them as some sort of proof of alternate realities. Well, obviously, whoever's writing this has their mind made up already about what explains this, i.e., misremembering. That may just be the stuff of science fiction, but scroll on to find out if any of these mind-blowing Mandela effect examples got you too. If you remember Dorothy's famous line in The Wizard of Oz as Toto, "I don't think we're in Kansas anymore," you would, in fact, be wrong. And as shocking as this discovery may feel in this very moment, you are actually not alone. This eerie phenomenon where people collectively misremember events, historical facts, and other famous pop culture moments is called the Mandela effect. And it was named by paranormal researcher Fiona Broom, who wrongly recalled that late South African President Nelson Mandela had died in the 1980s after his imprisonment, when in fact he passed in 2013. Once again, the person that wrote this article has their mind made up, and that is just simply misremembering. But why don't you join me in going through these things and arrive at your own conclusion. The Tank Man. In perhaps the most memorable moment during the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests, recollections of the event vary. Some say the unidentified man known as the Tank Man was run over and killed, but other videos show him unharmed. Yep, that's his name, Smokey Bear. Contrary to popular belief, his name isn't Smokey the Bear. Mr. Rogers' theme song. You might start singing the lyric, "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood," especially after seeing the 2019 Tom Hanks film. But even the movie makers got it wrong. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. A small but mighty blow to our memories of the world. Oh, and your favorite song, The Mandela Effect, is here to ruin that too. We all think of Freddie Mercury belting out of the world at the end of We Are the Champions, but it never happened. However, Freddie does sing the words at the end of the song during the band's famous Wembley Stadium performance. Hello, Clarice. We don't know what's scarier, the fact that we remember Hannibal Lecter saying hello, Clarice, or the reality that all he said was good morning. Say what? Mirror, mirror on the wall, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Nope, that wasn't a line in Snow White either. In fact, the Wicked Queen says, "Magic mirror on the wall." Yep, our childhood has been ruined too. Life is like a box of chocolates. Is not what Forrest Gump, played by amazing Tom Hanks, actually said. If you listen closely, he says life was like a box of chocolates. We're regretting all those Instagram captions right about now. Luke, I am your father. The exchange is as iconic as the Star Wars movies themselves. However, it's another line that was never said. No, I am your father is the correct line. See, that's crap. That is that is crap. That is not what was said. The Flintstones has 2 T's. We've been pronouncing it without that first one, so this is really awkward now. What do you guys think? C-3PO has a silver leg. Even the biggest Star Wars fans and Halloween costume sites get it wrong. The robot isn't all gold. He has one silver piece on his right leg. No. Double stuffed Oreos. If you're trying to tell us there isn't a second F in stuff, our lives have officially been a lie. Cheez-It or Cheez-Its? We swear there used to be an extra Z at the end. What is happening? The hyphen in Kit Kat. If you've just had an existential crisis about the fact that there's no hyphen in between Kit and Kat, now you're not alone. Fruit Loops. Kellogg has been spelling fruit like that for years, and we only noticed it now? Wowza. Oscar Mayer. One of the most confounding of all. There's a A in Meyer. Honest to goodness, we thought it was M-E-Y-E-R. Febreze. You might use the stuff every day, but be honest, you thought it was Febreze with 2 E's, didn't you? Sex and the City. While these 4 women were having sex in the city, the show was actually titled Sex and the City. Curious George's Tale was never there. Are you freaking out? Okay, moving on. The Bernstein Bears didn't exist. The lovable cartoon bear family actually spelled their last name with an A, the Berenstain Bears. Looney Tunes, not tunes. It makes almost 0 sense, but yes, the cartoon was spelled as T-U-N-E-S. Jif, not Jiffy. People swear there was a Jiffy peanut butter back in the day, but we speculate they're combining Jif with its competitor Skippy. Well, there you have it. There's some examples. But I will tell you, the young man that I went to high school with that was recruiting me to go to Oregon State, for a fact went to Oregon State. And then just a matter of weeks ago, all of a sudden his Facebook timeline is saying he went to U of O. And he does not like the Ducks. Or I guess he does now, but he didn't in the other timeline. And then we have 3 events with clients that I'm not going to say anything about because that's confidential. But they were definitely eye-opening, some major differences between the past timeline and this present timeline. And there's other events that have been happening too. So, the cool thing that I get out of it from Mind Speak with Zorth is that he shifted Cynthia, myself, Grady, and a few other people over this timeline because this is a better timeline. So even though you haven't been shifted to this timeline because you're already in this timeline, Zorth said this is a better timeline to be in. So that's good news. And in this timeline, a friend who was dying of stage 4 cancer, Zorth said that person in this timeline is going to be healed. That's pretty cool. On April the 11th, the grassy median to the left, there were lots and lots of trees as tall as the trees are on the right and the left. Now we have a bunch of tall grass. We have no signs of stump removal. We have no signs of heavy equipment. We have no signs of tracks, dirt, mud, any removal whatsoever. So on the 11th, trees were there. On the 18th, they were gone. They're still gone. Still gone. Well, life is interesting. And as you can tell, trees are still gone, so it looks like I and Cynthia, Grady, etc., the rest who made the switch, were locked into this timeline. That's all good with me. Life is full of mysteries, and Howard Storm did talk about multiple universes when he was talking with Jesus, and multi-layered universes stacked on top of each other. So in the previous timeline, just so we're clear, these trees that are gone, that you don't see right now, that are as tall as the ones on the right and the left, that were there but not there, in the previous timeline where I'm from, they're still there. They just disappeared on me 3 weeks ago when I shifted over to this timeline. So thank you, Alicia Watson, for verifying that with documentation. Love you guys. Have a good day.